Alright, so today we're going to look at radical equations. So the first thing that you want to do is to isolate the radical. Then when you isolate the radical, you will want to then, if it's just like the square root, like this, then you will square both sides. So this will be x, whoops, I didn't even do it. So x would be equal to a 9. If it was the cube root of x, like this, then you will raise it to the power of the root. Does that make sense? So whatever the root is, whatever the index is, that's what you're going to raise to the power. So this would be x2 is equal to 8. So whatever this index is, so once you isolate the radical, you will raise each side, each side to the index power. Then you will solve for x and check your solution. Okay. Alright, so let's look here. So I've got the square root of 3x plus an 18 is equal to an x. So that radical is already isolated. So I'm going to go ahead and square both sides here. So here I'm going to have a 3x plus an 18. The radical there goes away, and I'm going to be left with an x squared. So now this is a quadratic equation. So I want to get everything to one side. So I'll have x squared minus a 3x minus an 18 here. So now to do this, we are going to factor. So when we factor, what multiplies together to give me negative 18 and then adds together to give me negative 30. So that answer, so that'll be x minus 6 times x plus 30, right? So x will be equal to a 6 and x will be equal to a negative 30. Well, let's think about this. Can a radical be equal to a negative number here? So negative 30 will not be a solution here. So my only solution here will be a positive 6. Okay, so 3 times 6 is an 18. 18 plus 18 is 36. The square root of 36 does give you a 6 there. Okay, so remember, square roots are never negative. Alright, so let's look at this one. The radical is already isolated, so we will square both sides here. So when we square both sides, the radical will go away, so I'll be left with 2x plus a 13. And this is x plus 7 squared, so that'll be what? X squared plus a 14x plus a 49. So this is going to be a squared, so this will be x squared plus a 12x. And then, what am I going to do there? So then I subtract, I'm sorry. And then that'll be a positive 36. So then what multiplies together to give you 36 and adds together to give you 12. So that'll be x plus 6 times x plus 6. So x will be equal to a negative 6. Alright, so when I plug in a negative 6 in there, 2 times negative 6 is a negative 12. Negative 12 plus 13 is a 1. Square root of 1 is just a 1. Negative 6 plus a 7 is a positive 1. So our solution here can be a negative if it doesn't make, if it's not a radical is equal to a negative value. Okay. All right, let's look at this one. I told you this one was just a practice, like an extra practice, but let's just go ahead and work through this one. So this was square root of x plus 8 minus square root of x minus 4 is equal to a 2. So I want to isolate a radical. So I'm just going to isolate the square root of x plus an 8. So I'm going to have square root of an x plus an 8. is equal to 2 plus the square root of x minus 4. So then I will square both sides here. So I will have x plus an 8 now. And when I square this, it'll be 2 squared, which is a 4, plus 2 times square root of x minus a 4 times 2. So this will be a 4 square root of x minus a 4. And then when I square this term, it'll go away, so I'll be left with x minus a 4. Okay, so 4 minus a 4, so that's going to go away. I'll be left with x plus an 8 is equal to 4 square roots of x minus a 4 plus an x. When I move the x to the other side, it will go away, so I'll be left with 8 is equal to 4 square roots of x minus a 4. Divide both sides. I still need to isolate that square root, so I'll divide both sides by 4, so this will be a 2 is equal to x minus a 4. And then I will do this whole process again. So I will square both sides here. So 2 squared will give me a 4, and then I'll be left with x minus a 4. And so x here will be equal to an 8. And make sure that you check your solution here. If you plug it in, 8 plus an 8 is a 16, so that would be square root of 16, which is a 4. Whoops, I'm sorry. And then if I plug an 8 in here, this would be square root of a 4. So that'll be 4 minus a 2 is a positive 2. So that is correct. So it checks out. All right, so that is solving radical equations. If you have any questions, let me know.